All right, we are good to go. So I'd like to call our meeting to order. I'd like to welcome everyone. Reminder to council to disclose any pecuniary interest or general nature thereof. Seeing none, approval of the agenda. Rod, and I'm on. Any questions, comments? Call the vote. All in favor? Opposed? The motion is carried. Item 3 on the agenda is minutes of the regular council meeting for April 13th, 2026. Mover and seconder for that, Todd and Smokey. Any questions on the minutes? Call the vote. All in favor? Opposed? The motion is carried. Item 4 on the agenda is Source Protection Authority Committee. And typically we go into a separate council meeting for this, but today we are not. We're just doing it during the course of this meeting here. So item 4A, a motion to go into the Source Protection Authority. Rod, and I'm on. All in favor? Motion carried. And item B is the program and annual progress report. And welcome, Carl.
Great. Thank you very much, Mayor. Yeah, this was a good opportunity to give an update. And I think it's appropriate for us to integrate it into your council meetings.
Yeah.
Going forward. It's a little more efficient that way.
Good idea.
Yeah. So appreciate staff for that idea. Just want to let
Carl, if I could.
Yeah.
There's just for the people in the audience there, just the source protection authority, just kind of give a brief overview of what it is.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And it's important now, especially given some upcoming changes. So I think it's good to have that baseline. So under the Clean Water Act, typically conservation authorities were designated as source protection authorities to carry out the requirements of the source protection plan and the regulation that falls under it. And Northern Bruce Peninsula was unique, not being designated a CA, but under the Clean Water Act, you are identified as a source protection authority as a municipality. And so that area includes your municipal boundaries, and then it partners with Grey Sauble and Saugeen to include the whole region, which falls under our local source protection plan rules and responsibilities.
Yeah. The whole reason this came about was because of
the Warrington
situation.
Inquiry. And then the program protects municipal drinking water sources.
Right.
And creates protection zones where the water could connect or impact those drinking water sources.
Yeah, so for Northern Bruce Peninsula, it affects...
Yeah, Lions Head and Tobermory.
And Lions Head and Tobermory. Yeah. All right, good. Thank you, Carl.
Yeah, thanks. And so just sort of carrying on that idea of the conservation authorities, the recent provincial announcement was that the 36 conservation authorities under the Conservation Authorities Act are being amalgamated into 9. And so that has implications primarily for the conservation authorities being merged. And in our area, that'll be called the Lake Huron Region Conservation Authority. So a very large grouping from, Maitland Valley to Lake Simcoe and anything in between. So all of that is coming together to be identified as one conservation authority. Now, as I suggested, Northern Bruce Peninsula, that won't have a direct implication, not being a conservation authority yourselves or having jurisdiction over your area. But under the Clean Water Act, there will be some connections or there'll be some changes that might impact us because you're named as a source protection authority. And then so how that will play out based on what Justice O'Connor identified as the need for local watersheds to address local issues and to connect with the local authorities. We're pushing the government to think about those implications as they go forward with plan changes to the Clean Water Act, so that we don't lose our ability locally to still have these local authorities, source protection committees, and the arrangements that we have in place. Because if we were to merge all of those things into one plan and one giant source protection region, I think it would definitely dilute our ability to do our work on the ground. That's the message that our source protection committee was concerned about, and they sent a letter to the minister with those highlighting those key elements that they're concerned about maintaining in the program. I can pause there for a moment if there's a little second part here of annual reporting, but
yeah, and Carl, just I guess your position at in this whole thing as well, just to so you're with the Conservation Authority.
Yeah, so I work for the Conservation Authority, but my role is to represent the whole program and yourselves. I'm the go-between.
Yes.
With the source protection authorities, the province who pays currently for our program, and then the source protection committee who implements the source protection plan. So I'm kind of the go-between, and I have other representatives like me in Lake Simcoe, for example, in Maitland Valley. So there would be three main groups that are coming together under the source protection umbrella that we'll have to find a way to all work together.
And this is fully funded by the province.
It is continues to be fully funded. They're still showing strong support for the program, so we're not concerned that they're going to cut the funding. But there'll be some impacts in terms of us integrating or figuring out how we're going to work together.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Good. Yeah. So I'll keep yourselves up to date as that progresses. It's not planned till we sort of have a 2-year implementation period where they're going to do this integration. So they're going to work things out over that 2-year period.
Good.
In terms of the annual progress report, just very briefly, just to highlight some achievements this past year. So risk management plans, those are the plans with the landowners on the ground if they have threats identified or activities. So in the case of Lion's Head, the fuel storage there, we just updated that plan. We actually included some salt management practices and policies that's new, and integrated that into their plan just to minimize any potential impacts on the bay and the harbor. There were 50 inspections carried out across the region, and good compliance rates. Overall, we're very close. I think we're Bruce County's official plan this time. I think I probably said that last time. But I've seen a draft, and I've seen all of the wording for source water included in there. And so they're just going through some final revisions and hope to have that posted, because as a municipality, you fall under that. So that'll be nice to have that in place. Septic inspections are going well. They're required in the high risk areas right around the wells. And there were quite a few that were completed this past year, 67 of them. Interesting to note, there's always some minor maintenance that is observed when they do these inspections, and a couple were needed to be fully replaced. So, over time, these systems need to be maintained and inspected. And there were some ministry approvals that happened in our jurisdiction, and overall, very good rates of implementation of the plan. So that is a very short synopsis of where we're at in the program.
All right. Thank you, Carl. Any questions from council? No.
Okay.
Letting you off easy today.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. And like I say, if some developments come up with the integration, we'll bring that back to council for your awareness.
Good. Good. I appreciate the update. Thank you.
Thanks for your time.
So the recommendation coming under this is the minutes of the Source Protection Authority Committee meeting number 25-01, April 14th, 2025, be approved as printed and circulated, and that the Northern British Peninsula Source Protection Authority receives a copy of the Source Protection Annual Progress Report summary and directs staff to provide the report along with any comments to the Ministry of Environment, Conservation and Parks by May 1st, 2026. So you heard the motion. Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? The motion is carried. And the next motion is, thank you, Carl. And the next motion is to move out of Source Protection Authority Committee meeting, moved by Smokey and Todd. Call the vote. All in favor? Motion carried. Next, we'll go to we have two public meetings, actually. 5A on the agenda is Megan Stansfield, Bruce County Planner, rezoning bylaw amendment Z 2025-80 Buchanan, and the consultant is Ron Davidson for that. So we will hear Megan's report. Council will have an opportunity to ask questions regarding the report, and then we will move into the public meeting portion of it. So the public will then have an opportunity to speak to the application. And we should have a motion to bring it forward, I guess. Todd, and I'm on. Thank you. All right, Megan.
Thanks. Good afternoon, everyone. So this is a zoning bylaw amendment to facilitate 3 severances off of 123 Hardwick Cove Road. The zoning bylaw amendment will reduce the minimum lot area requirement for the 3 lots and will also reduce the frontage requirement for one of the lots. It's also going to place a holding on those 3 lots to delineate a building envelope that was established through the EIS. And then there's a related application that's just coming up after this for a lot addition. So the applicants are proposing to sever 3 new lots along with frontage along Hardwick Cove Road. The applicants complete an environmental impact study as well as an archaeological assessment to support this application. And they also retained a professional planner to complete a planning justification report to support this. So I'll quickly go through the policies that apply to this lot creation. So the county official plan designates the property as rural recreational. Most of Hardwick Cove is designated rural recreational. And that designation applies to areas that are within close proximity to recreational amenities like the shoreline. This designation is pretty common in Northern Bruce Peninsula along many of the bays and waterfront areas. They're not really considered settlement areas. We're not seeing huge like subdivision developments, but we do typically see smaller lot development, a couple lots here and there, that sort of thing. The smaller scale sort of development within these communities. And the plan, the Bruce County official plan notes that the goals for this area is to encourage development of the tourism industry and also provide lands for new residential growth opportunities. So the proposed new lots contribute to the goals of the county official plan, being that the proposal adds 3 new developable lots to the areas along a road with municipal access and amenities. The lots meet the minimum lot size required by the county official plan, which is accepted as suitable to accommodate private services. The proposed lots and configuration are generally in line with existing development, rounding out the community and developed areas. So through this process, we have to look at natural heritage and natural hazard features. There were no natural hazard features associated with the property, but there were natural heritage features, and so the applicants completed an EIS to support the creation of these 3 lots. The EIS defined development envelopes on each of the lots, and a holding will be placed on the area that's not supposed to be developed, so that if someone does want to develop in the future, they also would have to get an EIS to support that further development sort of thing. The EIS defined mitigative measures, and those will be required through a development agreement, which is required as a part of the consent condition. So we can't implement mitigative measures through the zoning besides defining the developable area, but those mitigation measures will be implemented through a development agreement. And it's important we implement those mitigation measures because the PPS requires that no negative impact occurs to natural heritage features. And the EIS said if these mitigation measures are implemented, then there will be no negative impacts to those natural heritage features. An archaeological assessment was completed for the entire property to support the development, and no items of cultural heritage value or interest were identified in the assessed areas. The property is zoned R2 resort residential, so it is zoned for residential development. The R2 zone has the same lot provisions as the R1 zone, but requires a minimum lot size of 8,000 square meters. This was the 8,000 square meters, I believe, comes from previous requirements to the county official plan. So the county official plan used to require 8,000 square meters for back lots, so lots that weren't fronting the water. The county plan has since updated that requirement. So the county plan now only requires 4,000 square meter lots, which is why this development meets the county official plan. But these lots are going to be 6,900 square meters, 5,500 square meters, and 5,900 square meters. And the typical lot size in this area is about 1,400 square meters. So these lots will be larger than what's typically seen in the area. And that's sort of to accommodate that natural heritage and also to accommodate private servicing. And so I provided a recommendation which outlines the mitigation measures so that when we go forward with the development agreement through the consent application, it's very clearly defined. And my recommendation for the zoning bylaw amendment is to approve it. We did have a couple comments from the neighbors, so I did include 2 email chains there. Some neighbors were concerned about the lot size. It wasn't clear from the plan, and I did clarify that with them. And then we had one neighbor who was opposed to the severed lot A3, which was one of the lots there that they were proposing. We also received comments from the historic Saugeen Métis, and they were concerned with the development in general, sort of. So they did provide some comments to the EIS, which we followed up with them and provided a response from the ecologist. So all of that is included in the report there. I'm happy to take any questions, and the applicant's planner is also here for any questions.
All right, thank you, Megan. And I guess that is important to note that the county official plan, the 4,000 square meters in the county official plan, and our zoning bylaw just hasn't caught up to it yet. So when we update our zoning bylaw, then we will incorporate the 4,000 square meters in our zoning bylaw. Yeah, the county is doing a new official plan right now. So once that's complete, Northern Bruce Peninsula is looking at updating our zoning bylaw. So we're waiting to see what's involved in that county official plan, and then we'll update our zoning bylaw. Yeah. Yeah, Smokey.
Well, this is just, I've sat here in council for many years, but planning is still sort of it's kind of, I'm just gonna ask a question about holding zones. You've put these holding zones where a building envelope can be, correct?
So the holding zone is actually in the portion where the building is not supposed to be. So the site plan has, basically through the EIS says, hey, you can develop here, which is really like right beside the road, essentially. If we don't have a map, but it's basically in line with the existing development on that road. And then the back portion of the property, the more interior woodland, that portion has the holding zone on it. So if someone did want to develop there, they could, but they would have to get further environmental studies done.
Okay, yeah, I'm just curious about it because sometimes we hear we
Yeah.
lift a holding zone and it's not an issue, but if you put these properties up for sale, if anybody wanted that holding zone to be lifted, they have X, Y, and Z that would have to take place in order for that to happen. Because, somebody may decide they don't want to place a home at the road and they want.
Yeah.
And so you're saying that they would have to go through.
They would have to go through the environmental impact study. So that is defined in the bylaw there.
Okay.
The bylaw has basically the reduced lot sizes, and then it shows that there's a holding on this portion of the property. So whenever a lawyer does like their title search or whatever, the title search is going to bring up the development agreement requirements. So saying that this is the building envelope, this is what you have to do to build. And then this is where the holding is. If you do want to build back here, you do have to do that extra study. So it should be super clear to anyone who's buying a lot.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Any further questions? If not, yes, Ron Davidson, the applicant's planner, is here. So welcome, Ron.
My name is Ron Davidson. I am the planning consultant. It's Megan. I wasn't on, sorry. I'm still Ron Davidson. I'm a planning consultant, as I'm a registered professional planner like Megan is, and I represent Doug and Leslie Buchanan who own the property. In a few minutes or whenever we're done with this portion, I know the next item on the agenda is related to this. It's for a lot line adjustment. I probably won't speak to that. I might throw in a couple comments right about now, maybe just to shorten things up a little bit. So I represent both the Buchanans and the Loneys. I don't have a whole lot to say in addition to what Megan has already stated. Just a couple minutes, if you don't mind. So we're here actually to talk about the merits of the zoning bylaw amendment and not actually the severances, because the severances are dealt with by the county. However, you can't really separate the two issues because without the severances, the rezoning doesn't really do anything and vice versa. So a significant amount of work has gone into this project to date as a result of pre-consultation discussions with the municipality, the county, and Saugeen Ojibwe Nation. As you heard, an archaeological assessment was required. And that assessment was conducted with monitors from Saugeen Ojibwe Nation, and there was nothing of archaeological significance found. And then the other biggie was the environmental impact study, or an EIS, if you will. And it determined that the 3 lots can be created without any impact on natural heritage features. I also did the planning justification report that demonstrated how the proposal lines up with the county official plan and is consistent with the provincial planning statement. I know there's a group of people here today that presumably are going to speak to this. I know I saw a couple of the email chains that Megan referenced. So I'd just like to spend a couple minutes just sort of I don't argue with neighbors. I just thought I'd make a few comments here. With regard to lot size, these are not small lots. These three lots are in very close proximity to three other lots, and maybe those landowners are here. Those lots would be 115, 119, and 121 Hardwick. And those lots are each 1,392 square meters in size, or about a third of an acre. Whereas the lots that we're proposing to sever range from 5,490 square meters to 6,920 square meters, which put it in Imperial is about 1.4 acres on the smallest of lots and 1.7 acres, which means the new lots will be about 4 to 5 times larger than the abutting lots. There was a concern raised about the size of the lot not being large enough for septic systems. From my experience, typically there's never an issue when you're dealing with a lot that's 1.4 acres in size or 1.7 acres in size. Should also point out that despite the large size of these new lots, about 60% of each of these lots will not be disturbed. And you've heard both council ask questions and Megan speak to this. And that's a result of the environmental impact study. And as you heard, the building envelopes will be shown in the zoning bylaw as just that, as building envelopes, and the holding symbol would be left on the balance of the property. In my opinion, it would be, I shouldn't say impossible, extremely difficult ever to adjust those boundaries, because the further you get in from the road, the more concern that raises with regard to natural heritage features. It's called, and I think Megan referenced this, it's called interior woodlands. So the only way typically an ecologist can get behind something like this is if you push the building envelopes to the road, and that's why the building envelopes are where they are. I should indicate that the development envelope for the most westerly lot, and that's the L-shaped one, the building envelope goes behind 121 Hardwick Cove. It does not go behind 115 or 119 Hardwick Cove. That portion of the property is untouchable. Should also indicate that the property right now is vacant. It is owned R2. So technically, and legally, if somebody wanted to build a house pretty much anywhere on the property today that's owned R2, including the building envelope of the most westerly lot, that could happen. I'm just about to wrap up here. I do, and thank you, Mr. Mayor. You referenced this. This helps. Yes, we need to amend the R2 zoning to reduce the lot area requirement, but that's only because it doesn't reflect the recent update of the official plan. So once the municipality updates its zoning bylaw, if it had been updated, this wouldn't be required. But again, the zoning bylaw is outdated and needs to be updated. And on a final note, I am concluding here. I was retained by this council probably about a year ago just to review the draft county official plan, and I attended a meeting, as you may recall, to discuss the proposed changes to the county official plan. One of the council's biggest concerns that I heard that day anyways was the environmental policies that might place too great of restrictions on lot creation to the point where it might be impossible to create lots on the peninsula. I think that's a fair assessment. That was my takeaway from the meeting. I should point out that the proposed lot creation conforms with the policies of the county official plan now and the policies of the new official plan that hopefully will be in effect later this year. Mr. Mayor, members of council, that's it for my presentation. Thanks.
Thank you, Ron. Questions of Ron? Right.
I think you were referencing lot A3 when you talked about the building envelopes. Can you just run over that again?
Sure. So the most westerly lot is the one that has a narrower frontage, and the building envelope will be at the rear. The building envelope will be behind one of the existing residential lots, but as that lot goes further east, that's all no touch. So there's two other existing residential lots that the new building envelope does not go behind. Does that make sense? It'd be helpful maybe if we had that up. You probably got it on your screen.
Further questions of Ron? If not, thank you, Ron.
Thank you.
We'll now open up the public portion of the meeting. Does anyone care to speak to? Yes. Yeah, just come and, yeah. state your name and for the record.
Good afternoon. My name is Brad Dickinson. Please bear with me. I've never attended a council meeting before, so I'll do my best. I got a couple of statements to make and some more questions. I'm glad I did attend because I have learned some information that I wasn't aware of before. So thank you for that. My first statement is that I want to thank Megan for being so responsive. Whenever I called her, I emailed, she'd been very quick to respond. So that was good. However, this email or this letter I got in the mail has several reference points that made it very difficult and time consuming to get the information required. And it reflects, in my opinion, on the planning department. So, to go to a website where all this extra information is available and not see it there was disappointing. In fact, the latest item on there was from 2024. So I'm not sure how many of these notices have been sent out to the residents of Northern Bruce Peninsula with no updated information on the website, but it was discouraging to see that. The phone number to reach to participate in this meeting is wrong, but the nice lady in the message for $2 indicates that I could get the right number to call. And then finally, by going to the website under the news section, which I was not able to find, maybe that's my inability to navigate the Northern Bruce Peninsula website, was very difficult. And when I did type in search news, there was nothing related on how to participate in the meeting. So I wasn't sure if that was, not important, not good enough, no considerations for the residents of Northern Bruce Peninsula, but I was disappointed in the thoroughness of the back pages of these notices. So it kind of comes into play as question in my mind, and I'm biased on the thoroughness of the rest of the work that's being done. Okay. Mr. Davidson, as he said, was bought and paid for by the owner of the land. So obviously he's here with, he's a professional. He's supposed to be independent, but he is paid for by the lot owner who wants to make the severance. We're all here. Have you ever seen so many people from when was the last time, Milt, you saw people from Hardwick Cove in here?
45 years ago.
Yeah. So we're concerned. So we got these items in the mail, right? And it's just not the time we're spending in here now. It's all these people that had to take the time to read this, understand it, talk amongst themselves, search the website, which didn't have the information we need, call, get the information. And a lot of that created a lot of assumptions, misunderstanding, and not a lot of facts, if you will. Megan did respond when we did call her, and we did get the information promptly. But, that was 3 or 4 days ago, 5 days ago, whatever. This is a lot for us to digest. We all have very important lives. Time is of the essence to us. Our grandchildren. I want to be out turkey hunting with my son right now. I'm here because somebody doesn't want to play by the rules. Somebody wants to make a change. And that's going to impact my way of life. A3 is behind my property. And they want to change. Now you say we're going to change the rules here eventually to 4,000, but we haven't changed them yet. Right?
That's true, but the county plan supersedes our zoning bylaw.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. But we're in the Northern Bruce Peninsula.
I know, but the county official plan actually does govern Northern Bruce Peninsula.
Fair enough.
We have local official plans, right at Dublin and Ferndale,
Right.
but out in the rural area, it's all governed by the county official plan.
All right. The same property owner wants to change the frontage bylaw as well.
Yes.
Right.
Okay.
So all of us have spent a lot of time, and all of us generally, I think, do a pretty good job trying to obey the law and follow the rules. This guy doesn't want to. This property doesn't want to. So we all have to come here to make our case that why should we change the rules for one person? That's why we're all here right now. So, what else? Ron Davidson indicated these lots are much larger than ours. Very well. I'm sure a very well-to-do person will buy these lots and develop them. I'm not sure who's going to control the building envelope and what's going to stop anybody from changing behind whatever residence they create. Those lots, has there been a topology examination done to this? Those lots rise to the back of my property to a ridge that goes down into a swamp. If you ever been in, did you walk the lot, Megan? Yeah. He did. So, in the springtime, we've had a number of flooding and high water levels that are controlled, that have been a concern. What's going to stop anybody developing, whether it's planting grass, putting a septic system on? I assume they're going to drill a well, which may overflow, or where their downspouts are going to go. I mean, everything ends up in the lake, but it doesn't go directly to the lake. And the drainage plan or whatever we have in Hardwick Cove is it's ad hoc at best. It's zone residential recreational, but a lot of people here are no longer here for just 2 weeks out of the year. We live here. Our kids gone to school here. We participate in plays and fundraisers. And it's important to us that, somebody just doesn't come in and start draining their property into those 3 lots. Yeah, they're small lots, but there are lots. And we love them. All right. I had some other notes here and I can't. I just give me another minute if you don't mind,
sure.
please. I don't know who's going to enforce the building or the drainage process. The owner did a good job getting an environmental assessment, but they never came to us and got a people assessment. How's that impact the residents? How's that impacting your neighbor? Nobody asked us about that. A3 is a problem. I mean, how much narrow do you make the frontage? Large enough for a small car, bicycle, walking path? The bylaw's there for a reason. Let's enforce it. Let's say no for a change, rather than just bending to the will or desire of a few. I'm not sure if there's any well testing that's required because of the impact or development that's going on.
We can have our planners respond to a couple of the questions there too.
I mean, you can't stop progress, but you can do it. You can do it properly, right?
But I'm sorry.
We can't stop progress, but you got to do it properly. And Hardwick Cove is a subdivision. You can call it a recreational land, or whatever. But it's a subdivision. And it's building up. And to shoehorn one more lot in there, bend the rules for squeeze one more lot in behind us doesn't seem right. The other 2 I kind of understand, but A3 doesn't make sense to me whatsoever. The owner has found a professional person who's in opinion says it's okay. Why didn't he hire somebody to find a way to meet the requirements? Pay the money to meet the requirements and follow the rules like everybody else has to. Right? I think that's all I have. If there's something else, I'll put my hand up again and say it again. I appreciate your time.
That's good.
Thank you for your patience, council and mayor. And I'm looking forward to getting a response to some of those questions.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Does Megan or Ron, do you want to respond? He has a concern about A3. Ron, do you want to comment on that? I'll just wait till we see what.
I was just going to ask after that presentation, just in one sentence, what rules do you feel are being, what rules do you feel are being broken? Like, we have to abide by rules, and I understand feelings. I have a lot of them myself. But what rules are being broken by this?
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, Neil informed me clearly that the county plan and there are 4,000 square meters rules over the middle of the bylaws.
It's the frontage you were referring to too.
Now it's down to the frontage.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And the fact that these lots are a good size, that just means to me there's going to be more water running down that property onto my lot, and whatever else they decide to put on it.
So your primary, like, what is you feel is like illegal, because that's how we have to deal with things. Is the road frontage is being changed? That is required, or
that's what I get from this.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Just so I understand exactly where.
Fair enough, and I apologize for not being more specific.
No, I just, as planning is confusing even for those of us that have been involved in this for decades, really, but thank you.
I only read the information twice and I still keep finding new stuff in it, so I have no idea, good question, thank you.
Sorry, Ron.
Ross?
Thanks. Yeah, maybe I'll just start with the second question just came up about, like typically the larger lot you have, the better it is for drainage for the neighbors. I mean, if you have they can't develop the whole property. They can only develop, it varies, but about 40% or 30%, depending on which lot we're talking about. So
Well, I think we have
Yeah.
one that's.
yeah,
And
so
question here.
the larger the property, the better, because there's not that much more opportunity for the water to stay on the property. Having said that, I'm not an engineer, but generally speaking, you'd much rather be developing on a 1.5 acre lot than on a half acre lot. That's my comment on that. With regard to the lot behind this gentleman, Mr. Dickinson. Yeah, there will be the building envelope does go behind his place. Just trying to think on my feet here if there's an opportunity. Like the building envelope isn't overly large behind his place, but I wonder if it would help council and all the neighbors if there was a tree retention strip placed, it would be part of that lot, part of A3. But if it was 5 or 6 meters wide, so 6 meters wide, well, you're looking at 21 feet. If that would help, if it's about visual impact or whatever else, that would help. Keeping in mind, I guess, just trying to compare this to a side yard requirement. If typically on your side yard, if you're building a house, you'd only have to be a couple meters away from the neighbor. This is behind, and granted, I get it, it is his backyard. So I'm just kind of throwing that out there. If that helps, by having again, if you follow me, a planting strip or a tree preservation strip. Right along the buffer, I guess, or the property boundary between Mr. Dickinson's property and A3. Throwing that out there.
We'll hear from Mr. Dickinson. Yeah.
I think that's the reason why, I came here. I mean, that proposal wasn't sent to us previously. You'll note that larger lots are better for drainage if you put the building envelope in the right size. The black building envelope, if I recall properly, is clearly on the borderline of 121. The building envelope is not in the middle of the lot where you perhaps the 1.5 acres can absorb more water. The downspouts, perhaps overflowing well, whatever. The building envelope lies directly on the corner of 121. I don't know what the impact would be of changing that or moving it. Obviously, there's other considerations for moving it. I certainly appreciate and thank you for reaching out and making that proposal. The only other item I'd want to raise for that is there some sort of planned drainage where you direct the flow of water down the side so it doesn't come down our properties that are those three there. So if you could do both of those, this is not negotiations probably, but thank you for reaching out and making suggestions or being flexible in that regard.
You could pull your chair up. Oh, yeah. So as the building department would know, if there's somebody in the room, I was just kidding, but thanks.
I'm trying to get my steps in.
With every time there's a building permit for a house in Ontario, and correct me, anybody in the room if I'm wrong, but I don't think I am. My wife is sure she'd say you're wrong. There's an opportunity for the municipality to ask for a drainage plan. And typically, like in an urban center where the lots are small, most municipalities would require it, like Owen Sound, for example, definitely required. Some of their small urban centers that they don't want to get that sophisticated. Where I'm going with this is there has to be a development agreement in place for this development to reflect the findings of the environmental impact study. I don't think it'd be too much difficult to put in another line
and I'm volunteering Megan or whoever's going to write this up, to state that development on A3 shall be subject to a lot grading and drainage plan. That's my client. If he's watching at home, he's probably not going to be thrilled about that, but this is called negotiation. Because, you know, that's going to cost $6,000-$10,000. You don't care. And I get that. But it is an opportunity for the municipality to be satisfied that water is going to flow off this property or be kept on the property and not impact you, because that's what a lot grading and drainage plan does. And folks, just so you know, that's what a civil engineer does. So they would come up, shoot the topography of the site, identify where exactly where the clearing is going to occur, and where the building is going to go and where the driveway is going to go, because that's not, you can't penetrate a roof and you can't penetrate a driveway with groundwater. So maybe that's a solution to A3.
That's here. Yep.
That may be helpful. What I'm hearing is I got more council meetings to attend because there's going to be more things to approve. You know, the buyer may want a different scenario, more changes to the building envelope. I see years or a long time of me needing to pay attention and stay on top of this. Is that something that we can get in place before approval from council?
Yeah, again, it's not my place, I guess, to say, trust me, they're never going to, I know. They're never going to change the building envelope. I mean, I have literally read hundreds of environmental impact studies. And again, I have a really good, I'm not an ecologist and I'm not an engineer, but I've been doing this for 37 years. Moving that building envelope, you know, this isn't good enough, but I'm going to say it's almost impossible. And you're going to say, well, Ron, that almost isn't good enough.
There could be a lot behind me.
Again, clients watching, but if we're rolling up our sleeves here,
yep,
we could take the holding symbol on A3 and not put it there, but just zone that land. So there's no holding symbol that you can't possibly develop it. I mean, we could add the hazard or the EP zone. Not a big fan of that because it's not hazard and that'll get people worried. But there's probably the holding symbol. Yeah, there's a lot of work to remove it. But I mean, we could maybe, yeah, I'm not sure if this is a good idea, but you could probably tweak the zoning so that it gives you a little bit more assurance that that's never going to be changed.
Right.
Ron and Megan, so can we maybe, should we defer this for a meeting till you kind of iron this out?
Well, I can't speak for Megan. I'd prefer that. I mean, I'd rather have a bylaw before council that I don't know if the neighbors can kind of sort of live with without putting words in his mouth, rather than forcing you to make a decision that is going to go, that's either going to upset these folks or not line up with with what we're proposing. And I mean, this don't get me wrong, this is not a threat, but I mean, you want to look at it as if everything's going to potentially end up at the Interior Land Tribunal. So I want to have the best bylaw before council in the event that it ended up going there. So that would be I'm making that request to be deferred.
You're making that request.
Yeah, but I still think so.
I would like to hear from Megan as well. Yes. Yes.
Appreciate it, because our wells do go across the back of our property.
Megan, we'll just hear from Megan. Brad.
Back in my chair.
You like sitting there, Brad?
Running a bit easier.
You're fine. Yes, go ahead,
All
Megan.
right. So firstly, I apologize for the website issues. I know when these guys got their notices and went to the website, the information wasn't on the website. We were having technical difficulties. Lori assured me that she did put it up there, but it wasn't there. So we did get that resolved as quickly as we could. And I did reach out to the people who wanted that information and sent it directly to them. So apologies for that. And then I've also made a note about our notice and double checking a couple things there to make sure there's no issues going forward, because part of this process is to make sure that the public is notified of the changes in their area. In terms of drainage, yes, it's very common for building officials are allowed to ask for a lot drainage and grading and drainage plan. And it's not unreasonable for us to include that as part of the development agreement. So again, like in my report, I had the recommended mitigation measures that were from the EIS. That's going to be included in the development agreement, which is registered on title to anyone who purchases the property. They will be notified that they have to complete a lot grading and drainage plan. Yes. What else was I supposed to touch on? Sorry, lost my train of thought.
But I guess the bottom line, are you in favor? You are?
Just something else that makes it a little bit more difficult.
Yeah. We can we could, instead of using an H, we could, I'm not necessarily sure I would want to use like an EH, but we could just amend, instead of using an H, we would just have a separate zone that said like, this is not an area for development, so that if someone did want to develop in that area, they would have to come back to council, and neighbors would be notified, etc., versus a holding where I think your neighbors are notified, but there's not the same like rigorous process. So we could do that. The EH is a little tricky just because it indicates, like Ron said, it indicates an environmental hazard. And if 10 years down the line, I'm not here anymore and someone says, I want to develop, why is there this environmental hazard? Then it gets a little bit confusing for people to understand. Someone comes up to the property, says this shouldn't be zoned environmental hazard, and then removes it. So to have that really delineated in the bylaw makes it really clear. So
I guess the question though, Megan, you will agree to deferral, and the comments you're making, I mean, these are the things we need to figure out before the next meeting. And Ron, you're in favor of deferral, of course.
Yes, can I say 10 seconds?
Yes. Yes.
Sorry,
Okay,
oh, that's okay. I'm just gonna use.
So yeah, this is something that I'm requesting.
Yes.
Meg and I can work on this.
Yes.
But I think in the spirit of trying to inform the neighbors that felt uninformed to date, I'll deal with Brian, right? Brad.
Brad.
I'll deal directly with Brad once Megan and I have something. I'll
Yes.
give him my business card. I mean, respectfully, I don't want to be emailing 12 or 14 different neighbors because that could go on for a long time. But if he would be the spokesperson for them, then he can see in advance of the meeting what Megan and I have been discussing. And to be honest, it's not very difficult. I mean, I'll be going home this afternoon and preparing something for Megan to take a look.
Okay. Oh, okay.
But there is the frontage issue too, right? So let's not put buried in it. And I got other neighbors here that may want to speak. And I'm not sure if they want me to be their spokesman. So we'll take that offline. So that's fine. So Ron, you've been excellent to, be flexible for sure.
Yes. So there's a reduced frontage as well, that 18 meters. So there is an existing driveway in that location, and the 18 meters includes that driveway, which is sufficient in terms of like public works, what they require for frontage as well. So.
Well, I was just going to ask if your discussions would involve a drainage plan. Like our road tour, we're looking at a subdivision that was allowed to go ahead long before any of us sat here. And we're still on a road tour dealing with the results of that happening. And so I would we need to be aware of that, because I don't know, maybe Amon will be sitting here, and I don't want to say how many might be sitting here when it becomes an issue. This last weather that we've had showed up a lot of those issues that sit below the surface for a little while. But I'm just wondering if that's going to be on the discussion table.
Yeah, so we can, I think we can add that as part of the development agreement. I would say that in terms of like when you're looking at a subdivision, you're looking at like 4+ lots being developed. right?
Yes.
And the roads as well. So we want to see that drainage, lot grading and drainage before we approve those lots, because you don't know how they're going to be
Exactly.
impacting each other. In this case, we have 3 lots that are quite large. So we can assume, like, if they're just proposing to build a single detached dwelling, which is all that's permitted here. There's sufficient area to work with for an engineer to work with to develop a dwelling and also ensure that the lot grading and drainage is going to be adequate. So I wouldn't say that it necessarily has to be done before we approve this application. But we would, I think it's reasonable to ask before development occurs.
Thank you.
Building occurs.
No, it's,
Personally, I'm not sure what my neighbors.
we'll give them a chance. We'll give them a chance, Brad, to, if they want to speak. So, yep, yeah. So, yeah, with regard to lot grading and drainage, it's a pretty typical thing to ask for in subdivisions. Years ago, of course, that was not the case. They were developed and that was the end of it. So, but now with development, that's just part of the
They avoid us, and I'm good with that. I don't mind being avoided with the drainage, but then where does it go? Most of us live on a road. It goes down the side and down the road. There may be other neighbors here that may.
let's see what we can figure out. Yeah. Okay, thank you, Brad. I'll give, you can. So anyone else care to speak regarding this application?
Weatherspoon, I live in Hardwood Heights as well. And I guess the issue that you're talking about now, and I'm glad that there might be some kind of accommodation that could be referred to down the road that will help these people that are directly related to these property lines and what have you. My concern is that very similar to what you were just talking about, and that's the drainage issue, because there is no drainage plan for Hardwood Cove. And as you know where I live, I'm at the bottom of that hill. So everything that's going to happen up that hill is going to impact me at the bottom.
Mhm.
And we had water this year where I've never had water before.
I've seen
But,
the same thing.
I mean, yeah, but so we're now talking about 3 additional properties where we're going to build up septic tanks. We're going to slope away from houses, and everything that comes off those comes down to me. And there's no place for it to go because the township has been real nice. They've built me a beautiful berm between me and the lake so that I'm never going to get flooded by water. But there's no way for that water to get down to the lake. It comes to the edge of the road and we get flooded at the bottom. And my expectation of doing this is just going to amplify that problem. And I guess the whole issue of going from 8,000 to 4,000, and I mean, I'm hearing that that's part of an official plan that's going to happen. I don't know what that impact is going to be then on additional lots that could be squeezed in someplace that's going to do something with that. But if something can be done to accommodate the people that are directly affected, and we can look at somewhere down the road what we can do to try and eliminate some of that water concern, because we've got neighbors that, I mean, one will dig a ditch someplace else, and it goes from that ditch to that ditch to that ditch. Well, I'll tell you, there's ditches everywhere, and I mean, it's not helpful to the people that are at the bottom end of that. I mean, if you live up at the top, I guess that's not a concern, but if you live at the bottom, it is.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Rick. Yes, wait.
Just a quick question.
Yes.
Is the frontage? What does the frontage mean? Does that mean a laneway? There was somebody built some laneway at one time that becomes the frontage?
No.
Frontage is the just the area or the length that's along the road.
Along the road.
Yeah. So in like the case of like A1 and A2, they're right against Hardwick Cove Road, so they each have like a frontage of over 50 meters. Whereas the other one that they were speaking of, it has there's an existing driveway there. But there's
Who's existing driveway? Yeah. Who put that driveway?
there's a civic address, so I think the Buchanans must have, or maybe they purchased it that way. But there's a driveway there, with the civic address, the little number plate. For 123, yeah. And so that one is 18 meters.
And that complies with the municipal bylaws of reaching the frontage.
It doesn't. So that's part of the discussion is that the municipal bylaw requires 30 meters.
So that needs to be adjusted within this.
Yes.
Why don't they just say no?
Okay.
Why don't you just say no? Doesn't meet the bylaw.
It doesn't. So the requirement is 30 meters and it's
Okay.
18.
As
So
long as that gets looked at.
yeah.
No, by the way, I'm Wayne Morningstar and I'm from Hardwick Oak too.
Yeah.
And what we're afraid of happening down there. Within the subdivision is, oh, I've got a lot that's 50 by 50. I think I'm gonna divide that in half and put a little laneway of 19 feet in or we drill. And that's really good. And you were great at getting back to my wife, actually. I tell them, oh, no, that was in meters. But when we get the paper, I mean, it didn't
No,
say
yeah,
it's
no,
meters,
that's-
feet, or
it's- oh, yeah.
that's a whole different ballgame. That's being looked after. But I really like the idea of not being able to make something that's already there into, oh, that could become the frontage. That's not the way it works. That's a laneway that nobody, he could have put that there to park his car at the camp for all we know.
Yes, Ron.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yep.
So just on that note, I mean, this probably isn't I've said it once before, and it's probably not a popular response, but somebody could use that driveway today and build a house right exactly where, Brad, you don't want to see it. So there is not, this is a building lot, just so everybody's clear on that. So there could be a house built back there today. And I can't speak for Mr. Buchanan. I have no idea when he bought that parcel or if it came with his with another property that he owns, no idea. But I'm assuming somebody put a driveway in thinking that I could sell this as a one large building lot. So I guess worst case scenario for Mr. Buchanan is that the council denies the severance, the rezoning the county denies the severances. And Mr. Buchanan's left with one large building envelope and he can build anywhere where it's zoned R2 on the property.
Yeah, okay.
He could, but he probably wouldn't want to be breathing down my throat, right? 10 acres, I like my odds on 10 acres versus a small half-acre lot, 1.5-acre lot.
Yes, sir.
Well, I've been listening, I'm the owner of 121 Code. I just have a question is when did that laneway?
What is your name, sir? I'm sorry?
Todd McClant.
Okay, yeah, okay.
My question is, when did my deed, where my land, whatever survey that I bought in 96, showed that as a 66-foot right of way to get into the land behind us? When did it get changed into a lot? Is my question.
We can't.
I grabbed the envelopes, but I forgot my envelopes that I had at home and I have a copy of what I got
Of the original.
of the survey.
It was like a right of way.
Yes,
It might have been like whoever owned it before, like they might have had
but it says right of way, but now you're saying it's a lot.
Well, right of way doesn't necessarily. It doesn't.
It says 66-foot right of way, which is
Yeah.
18.2 meters,
Yeah, so that's.
right?
That's
So
front.
I have no problem with them using as a laneway to the back. But building on that is
There's
supposed to
not,
be deemed a land.
they're not proposing to build on that. That's just that's how they access, so I can show you on my.
Yeah,
Oh, that-
I understand.
Yeah, that's what he's-
This is how, like, they own this, which is merged with.
Yes,
like,
but that's why they deem it as a 66-foot right of way to get back there, not change it into a lot. If it was deemed 66-foot right of way, each people on each side should have had a chance to buy half.
Yes, go ahead, Ron.
I'm just wondering out loud, sir, if like right away doesn't necessarily mean it's a municipal road allowance. It could mean that it's a private easement,
Well, which it is for the properties behind.
right.
Now,
Which is his.
okay, so how are they gonna get to the other property? Are they coming off the lake? Or is that why you're?
There'll be 3
Yeah.
lots. So the first 2 lots will be as Megan just.
Yeah, I know they're coming off of there. I'm talking about the property that's in behind the lot that they're talking
So
about,
it's.
where is he getting the access from there?
Okay, good question. So we call that the retained parcel. That's being merged on title with the property to the south.
Okay, so
which
that's
was-
the other 4 pieces of paper that I got at the last minute or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yes.
Whatever. Now, okay, so the other question is, I've got 2 conflicting up here is this building envelope. Now, you said it was behind Dick or Brad's, but it's not, is it? It's behind 121.
It's behind it's behind
The
the
most
western
western
of those three
one.
lots. Oh, sorry, I thought Brad, he said in his
No.
speech that the building envelope was behind your house.
So I said 121.
121,
Okay, my
yeah.
apologies. So it's not behind your house.
No, it's behind mine.
Okay,
So I would love a boundary in between if they're gonna build. If they build the furthest point away, fine, but I don't want them right on and my well is right there. And the other one is the septic tank where it's gonna run.
so if I may, Mr. Mayor, I mean, septic and well, whoever builds on A3 or A2 or A1, their well has to be so many meters away from your
Yeah.
septic. And his septic has to be so many meters away from
Right.
the well.
And
That takes care of it.
like my neighbor said, everything runs to the road.
Yes,
Now, is there gonna be enough distance between there and there? I know it's a hectare, but it's almost a hectare. It's 7.2 hectares, the whole land. But how much is the envelope? That's not put on there that I just recently got.
right,
How big is the building envelope?
right, okay, so it is shown on the zoning bylaw amendment, it's the land that doesn't have the H attached. Like. Like the most westerly lot, again, the L-shaped one, I'm just looking at this here, I would say it's about 40% of the overall property.
Right. So, okay. All right, that's what I was just trying to understand, like what is the actual? And how that 66-foot right of way got turned into a lot.
So that part, Megan can't answer, I can't answer, I have no idea, it's a lot, if that right of way still exists or an easement to get somewhere else, I don't.
Because when I've been there since 96 and 3 years ago, all of a sudden there's a laneway put in. With a culvert. Permit put in, and I was wondering, oh, well, maybe they're gonna go back but now apparently they can build on that 18.2 by 100, that's 6,600 square.
To be clear though, they've always been able to build on that, it's zoned R2.
Oh, well, I was just going by the 66-foot right of. Right? I'd just like to find out when that was changed. If you even have maps of that, that was 96 when I bought.
I don't have any information on that. We're pretty good with keeping like the county website updated with the like unopened road allowances and right of ways and stuff, but if we don't have the original information, which sometimes if we don't get it from NPAC or if we don't get it from the landowner to own the land and have the property surveyed, then we can't update our system. So I'm not 100% sure. I don't know if it was always owned.
Well, it was zoned once because I have the zoning at home at the cottage.
Right, yeah.
So it was, and like, I just like to know this, how all of a sudden it turned into.
Yeah. Maybe we need,
I know you say it's zone residential. I know the whole area is zone residential, but they still, the whole Ontario is 100 by 100 acre parcels, which have to have a laneway into them. They can't be totally, whatever, can't be totally closed in, the land in Ontario. As far as my understanding and what I read, but that's all my concern was that, how come all of a sudden it turned into a laneway or a building lot?
Okay.
Frontage, you got the frontage on the lot behind, right? The frontage on the lot behind's there.
yeah. Yeah,
Does that
Brett,
matter?
okay. Brett, just what's your comment there, Brett?
First of all, you think I'm gonna beats here or something. It's got a long after, I apologize for that, but that right away, when is it too small? What frontage, I'm sorry, when is that frontage too small? The rule is 30, you're giving them 18, why are you giving them 18? Why not 17, why not 5? When do we stop, say no? that lot shouldn't be there, the frontage doesn't meet the bylaw. So we're all talking about drainage, but that frontage.
Yeah. What is the allowance for the fire department?
Yeah.
To get in there?
There was always frontage for that lot, just not that laneway.
Yes.
There was frontage on the road. So don't lose sight of that. That laneway was not frontage. There was lot frontage
That's
there.
fine. I guess
Yeah.
it's been changed year prior from 96 and it's been changed. I just never got a notice of it being changed or if it even needed to be changed. But why would it be in there?
Maybe we're going to defer this probably anyways, so maybe we can get some of this sorted out in a couple of weeks. Before it'll come back to us in a couple of weeks. Ron? Yes, okay. And Megan, are you prepared for a couple of weeks to bring it back?
I can. Is your next meeting the 11th?
Yes, it is.
I am on vacation.
You. No.
I'll be in Italy, but I can join the video.
No, you can't.
Is there someone?
And we'll see what we can do in regards to his question. I can see if we have any old information about like past surveys or zoning bylaws.
I think
If there's any.
I got that out of Wyerton, I think.
Okay, yeah, so that's where our office is, and we do have old surveys and plans and stuff, so.
Right.
That's the best I can do. I'm not sure if I'm gonna be able to find anything, like I won't promise anything, but I can take a look and see what was there and see if anything changed.
Okay, yeah, Ron?
Yeah, so just regarding these, Megan and I will work together.
Yes.
Works for both
Yep.
of us. The fact that everybody has signed in, listen to me speaking on behalf of Megan or staff. But the fact that you've left your emails, that's how you will be notified and likely given at least 2 weeks notice the next, when we come back.
All right, so we're gonna defer this, that's not the recommendation that we have, but it's what we're going to do today. The mover and seconder that was a while ago. Todd and I'm on deferral. Okay. I'm sorry? Oh, I'm sorry, yes, was there someone else? Was there, what? Yes, we want to make sure is right. Anyone else? Okay. So we're going to defer this one and I'll call a vote, and that is on the Buchanan application. Call a vote, all in favor of deferral. Motion is carried. Yeah. All right, we'll go to item B.
Thank you.
Yeah, okay, take care, guys. Yeah. We'll go to item B on the agenda, and that is Bruce County Planning again, and it's regarding zoning bylaw amendment Z 2025-081. Loney and Ron Davidson once again is the consultant for the application. Megan, you're able to speak again. Whoever and seconder, bring it forward, I guess. Smokey and Amon, or Todd, sorry.
Hello again.
Yes.
So this application is sort of an associated application to the one we just discussed. Essentially with the last application, there's a retained parcel. That retained parcel, they're proposing to merge it with their property at 153 Hardwick Cove Road. There's a large rural parcel behind there, and so this application is to sever off a little chunk so that their retained parcel on the other application and 153 all merge together. Not complicated at all. And yeah, so the property is currently zoned rural and environmental hazard. And we're proposing to zone the severed portion resort residential so that the zoning is consistent throughout the entire property. The retained parcel will remain rural with a holding for an archaeological assessment because that large portion was not assessed. And then the zoning will also recognize the lack of frontage on an open and maintained road. So that very large parcel doesn't have frontage. And yeah, the county official plan designates the property as rural. The severance is considered technical in nature, so it meets the policies of the county official plan. In terms of natural heritage and natural hazard, because this is just a lot addition, we don't require an EIS. No development is being proposed on this as part of this application. The holding is being applied to the retained parcel there. And yeah, we didn't get any public comments for this report. The public comments were mostly associated with the last application for that lot creation. And we didn't have any concerns from the agencies. So this one's a little more straightforward. I'm happy to answer any questions though.
And do you think this would be premature or putting the cart before the horse sort of
I
thing?
was gonna ask.
Yeah, that we should maybe defer this in conjunction with the result of negotiations on the first application.
Yeah, maybe, but this is really just to rezone that small parcel and add the holding. So if
And I realize that. I think I'm maybe speaking more for the people that are in the trying to make the deal here. Maybe they'll have some reservations on going ahead with it because of what happens behind them, right?
gotcha.
Like maybe we should bounce it off them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
We can defer this one too.
oh, we can, yeah, okay. Can we have Ron's?
Sense the past two bylaws.
It wouldn't make sense.
I don't think so, would it?
This one is two bylaws. This is a bylaw one and bylaw two. Yeah. So this is a fully separate bylaw. We can if it makes more sense to do it that way. But I think like it also, I guess, sort of depends on the applicants. They may, like if the severances weren't to go ahead, I'm not sure if they would then want their parcels to merge.
That's what,
That's what I'm getting at.
I
Yeah,
was
maybe
wondering
Loney
about-
would be the people to talk to and just say, what do you think? Should we go ahead with this right now or wait?
Right. Any thoughts on that?
Sure.
Yeah, good, yes, yeah. Yeah.
Thanks, Megan.
Yeah.
So, yeah, first of all, just back up and I'll be very brief here. So with regard to the three severances we just talked about for the last hour, this is the retained parcel. So the question is, what do you do with it? And since Mr. and Mrs. Buchanan own property around the corner, still on Hardwick Cove Road, they have a cottage. They thought they'd just add it to it. That way they know that, well, it doesn't matter, but they had to add it to something. So they wanted, that's why they're doing this part of it. And like Megan said, there's a sliver of land that they don't own that they have to buy from, and I think it's Mrs. Buchanan's brother or brother-in-law or something like that. So that's who the Loneys are. So that's why they're doing this. Yeah, I mean, this is a really straightforward rezoning. If council wants to defer it, I certainly have no issue with it. I mean, getting it rezoned today doesn't help the county move along with the severance applications, presumably, Megan, because you're probably going to wait for the rezoning on the other property before you deal with the consent out, but before you deal with the, yes, come back here, deal with the rezoning before the county deals with the consent application. So I mean, in terms of paperwork, it might be easier if you passed the two bylaws at the same time, and then the county can give notice once and presumably stuff the envelope with two notices as opposed to sending out notices on two different dates. So I have no problem with the deferral, but if you need to hear a formal request, I hereby request that you defer our application.
All right, we'll get a mover and seconder for that. Is there, so we'll just get a consensus, I guess, before we, deferral is, yeah. The mover and seconder was, sorry.
You could get a new mover in a second.
And Mr. Mayor, if I may, not my place, but just maybe ask someone in the
Yes,
gallery.
yeah, we'll
here if
go
there's-
to the
thank
public. Yeah.
Sorry.
Is there anyone here from the public that cares to speak to this one? No. Are you sure?
I'm very disappointed because I thought all these people were here to listen to me speak.
Oh.
They
Okay,
left me.
okay, well, you're on your own, yeah. All right, so, deferral, Amon and Rod. Call the vote, all in favor. And that is on the item B of the public meeting, which is Loney, application Z 2025-081. All right, I want to thank Ron and I want to thank Megan. Appreciate it.
Vacation
Thank
in
you.
Italy is looking pretty good right now, right?
It's good.
No wine.
Uh,
Good afternoon.
Okay. So here we go, delegation,
My turn?
your turn. South Bruce Peninsula ATV Club. Request for utilization of an unopened portion of the Brewery Road to access Lindsay Tract Trails.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is George Van Der Eyck, and this is Paul Took. We both live on Old Loans River Road, not too far from here. Currently, I'm the president of the South Bruce Peninsula ATV Club. I don't know whether everybody got a copy of this.
Yep,
No.
your presentation?
You did get it? Okay, so there's no need for me to read through it again then, or?
No, we have it. We have it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So Smokey had wanted to see a picture of a map of what we're asking for here. And I showed you a chunk that is northeast of Highway 6 of the Bury Road allowance. That is one small piece that we're actually asking for all of the Bury Road for an ATV trail.
Okay.
Okay, but there's a section in there. I can't even see it on my map right now.
13292.
No, I got the wrong map. Anyways, there's a section on the right-hand side of Highway 6 going up north where the Bury Road crosses over the Highway 6.
Yes.
And there's a section in there that has there's a landowner back in there. I'm not going to mention names, but anyways, he claims that the open part of that road allowance is actually on his property and it's not road allowance.
It could be. I mean,
Very well.
Yes.
So as a club, we are more than prepared to get a land surveyor in there. We've done it in the past. Like I said, we've done it. We did Limberlost a number of years ago. But we'll get a land surveyor in there and we'll get the road allowance surveyed, supposedly 66 feet. And we will put the road allowance back on the road allowance and not on the landowner's property.
just Troy, so that's where it crosses the road just up here, the Brewery Road, where it crosses Highway 6 right up here.
Yes, correct. And I believe the area that they're requesting would start at Highway 6 and then still continue north of Limberlost Road, which goes into the quarry, and then go north of there on the Bury. If
That
I'm
wasn't
correct,
Limberlost, Troy.
Pardon me?
Not Limberlost.
Not Limberlost.
Or sorry, Limestone Ridge Road. Sorry, I was looking
I'm
at
gonna
your other presentation. I'm sorry. Yeah, but
Yeah, I
we're
messed
going
you up
into the
there.
quarry.
Sorry, buddy.
Yeah, so it would be, if I understand correctly, it would be the Bury Road north of Highway 6, where it continues northerly past Limestone Ridge Road,
Correct.
Okay,
which I believe a majority, if not all of the property north of Limestone Ridge Road is on the west side of the road allowance is Lindsay Tract. Yes.
Correct.
And there's private properties on the east side of the Bury Road.
okay.
So I have to admit, I'm not familiar with the road allowance north of Limestone Ridge Road. So I'm not sure exactly if or where
So-
it veers off the road allowance.
How far north of the Limestone Ridge were you going?
It almost come to Lindsay Road 20.
Oh,
It comes
okay,
real close.
okay,
Any map that we've seen of this road allowance does stop before Lindsay Road 20, which doesn't make any sense either.
No.
It's just like it dead ends
yeah,
in the middle of the bush. And
Yeah.
I don't know why, but we have land use agreements to the east of that. But this property owner that we're speaking of, obviously it doesn't want ATVs on this property, which is fine. I totally understand that.
yeah,
We make land use agreements all the time. And we do play by the rules. We have over 600 members, like we're not a Mickey Mouse operation.
mhm, mhm. Yeah, okay, so,
I don't even mean to interrupt, Mr. Mayor, but having said that, I don't know that we have to ask permission for the entire Bury Road.
okay,
Everything that's unopened. Cause I believe there's a chunk. So southwest of Highway 6, is that classed as open, Troy?
Yes, I believe it's open, but season just unmaintained. The section south, yes.
it's open, but it's not.
Yeah, well, that's fine. That's fine.
Okay, so, why don't Troy, you have a look at this? And just so we know exactly what we're talking about.
Yeah, well, Troy and I have talked about this in the past a few times, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And Troy can bring back a report to us in the next council meeting so that we know what we're doing. And everybody knows what we're talking about.
So, Mr. Mayor, would it be wise to kind of determine where the survey bars are first? Because it's going to be hard to tell, where it is on the road allowance, or maybe we can meet first. And do you have a rough idea where you believe it veers off the road allowance?
Troy, I have not personally been there. We had
Okay.
3 guys in there last fall that were not members of the club at the time. I believe they all are now, but they wanted to open that up there without my knowledge.
Okay.
And that's when they got into a confrontation with the landowner stating that it was his property.
Okay.
And they left.
Okay.
And they contacted me.
Okay.
I personally have not been back in there to find out exactly where the issue is. I have in the past, like years ago, I have rode it.
Okay.
On my ATV, but
How far did you go north? Were you able to go north?
no, I couldn't go anymore. It's called water.
Yes.
It's a big water hazard there.
Yeah,
Actually, Spring Creek crosses there.
okay,
Comes across the Lindsay Tract.
Yep.
And they're probably gonna have to put a culvert in there, which we are more than capable of doing. We've done it in the past.
We opened up Limberlost from, there was an existing trail.
Yep.
Off of Highway 6, and it went across, and then it crossed over landowners' property, so that's why we went to the town of South. So 4 or 5 years ago, George, you and I.
Yeah.
And asked for permission, and yeah, we'll cover the cost of any necessary repairs or opening up or any gravel, any survey costs will all be covered by the club. Or we're all welcome to volunteers, they want to come out and help out, but. So that's what we're trying to do here. We're not trying to run roughshod over anybody's property. We're trying to do it so that they're
fair enough. Yep. So we'll have Troy have a look at it and come back to us with a report. And Troy, you'll have a conversation with these gentlemen and.
Yeah, I have George's number. We can reach out. And
Like I said, we've talked before. I actually got a dog off him at one time. So.
All right. Well, thank you for your presentation.
Thank you very much. Oh, next.
Anybody have a question?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Everything good?
Everything good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Next meeting, do we have to go behind all of this like an hour and a half later or? I'm joking.
It was, I thought, yeah, no, it's,
Thank you very much for the time.
yeah, you may get lucky and be right on. All right. So we will move to agenda items. And consideration of agenda item number 1. That council receives report C26-12 AMPS information report. Move on seconder. Amon and Rod. Any questions on that one? Yes, Rod.
Not a question, just a suggestion. Acronyms drive me crazy. Right. It wouldn't hurt when we say amps here to put a little bracket just for, because somebody asked me, and I sort of remember what it's about, but just a suggestion. So,
Okay. We can probably do that.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. Administrative monetary penalty system.
Yeah, yeah.
We like acronyms in the municipal world, that's for sure.
All right. If there's no further questions on that, call the vote. All in favor? Opposed? The motion is carried. Once again, the clerk's report, appointment bylaws. The council received report MLEO. There you go. 2026-11, appointment bylaw for information. The council directs staff to bring forward. Number 1, a bylaw to appoint municipal staff as municipal bylaw enforcement officers. And number 2, a bylaw to appoint municipal bylaw enforcement officers from municipal support services. Mover and seconder for that, Todd and Smokey. Any questions on that one? Call a vote. All in favor? Opposed? The motion is carried. Item number C is the treasurer's report, council remuneration. That council received report TR 26-07 regarding council remuneration for 2025 as information. Mover and seconder for that one. Todd and Rod. Any comments, questions on that one? Call the vote. All in favor? Opposed? Motion is carried. Parks and Facilities Manager report. PF 26-05. And it's regarding an RFQ, request for quotation. Results for the refrigeration plant components replacement. And the recommendation is the council receives report PF 1605 RFQ. Results for refrigeration plant components replacement and information, and the council awards CIMCO Refrigeration, a division of Tormont Industries Limited, London, Ontario, in the amount of $124,573 plus HST for the identified refrigeration plant components replacement. And the council authorized staff to sign the purchase agreements attached as Appendix A, B, C, and D. We're in seconder for that one. Rod and Amon. Any questions on that? Mark, do you have any comments?
No, these are items that were identified through building condition assessment, as well as our service provider, Black & McDonald. This is to keep the plant going, depending on a future decision by council, whether we're rehabilitating or building new. Some of these components could potentially be moved to a new facility or sold as used in good condition. So,
Okay, that's spoken.
Yeah, that Mark just answered my question. I was just going to say we have a very good reputation about the ice surface in Lion's Head, and we want to keep that. It really is well kept. And my question was just going to be if we could, move some of this equipment, and Mark has answered that. So, thank you.
All right. Any further questions? I'm on.
There's one question about when we'd expect this work to start and complete, and if it disrupt any programs or anything in the winter.
Missed part of what you.
Sorry, I was just curious when this work would be expected to start and finish, and if it mess up any other programming at the arena that we need to.
It won't affect any programming at the arena. It can be scheduled in between programming. It would start this summer and be completed this summer before the next ice season. which is late August when we turn the plant back on. So.
Perfect. Thanks.
All right. Any further questions? Call the vote. On item D, all in favor? Opposed? Motion is carried. Item E, RFQ, request for quotation results for a pickup truck purchase. The council receives report PF 26-06, RFQ, results for pickup truck purchase for information and to council award Peninsula Ford in the amount of $60,500 plus HST for the supply and delivery of one new 2026 Ford F-150 XLT Crew Cab 4x4 hybrid truck. Mover and seconder for that one. Rod, Todd. Any comments, questions? Yeah, that's what you have, Todd?
Yes.
Yes, yeah.
I'd like to know if council can get the same pricing.
Okay, probably not. Any further questions on that? Call the vote. All in favor? Opposed? The motion is carried. Parks and Facilities Manager again. And it is report number PF 26-07. Lease agreement for the Ferndale Red Schoolhouse. And the recommendation is the council receives report PF 26-07, lease agreement for the Ferndale Red Schoolhouse for information. And the council directs staff to bring forward a bylaw to adopt an agreement to renew the lease between the British Peninsula Society of Artists and the municipality for the occupation and use of the Red Schoolhouse in Ferndale as may be amended. Is there a mover and seconder for that? Smokey. Rod. As may be amended. What's that mean? What?
Wasn't sure if council would have any changes to what was drafted.
I see. Okay.
So the current occupiers, the Artist Society, has no special ask or changes to the draft agreement. It's basically a copy of the previous agreement with a slight increase in the annual fee. So
yep, saw that. Yeah.
The Red Schoolhouse looks great.
It does.
Yep.
Any questions? Call the vote. All in favor? Opposed? The motion's
I'm
carried.
gonna throw in my grandmother taught there for many years. It was pretty grim.
Yeah, item G on the agenda, Public Works Manager Report, number PW 26-13. And it's regarding a plow roll-off truck purchase. The council receives report PW 26-13, plow roll-off truck purchase as information. And the council approves the purchase of a 2027 International HV 615 tandem axle cab and chassis with extended warranty, 7-year, 400,000 K, and a Vikings Clives one-way plow with hydraulic tilt harness, wing and harness, and Roller Pro tipping frame. This is kind of a mouthful. With RPSH 15.5-foot sander hopper for $500,048 plus HST. Wow. And include the purchase of a Grenville auto greaser for the chassis and roll-off tip frame for an additional $7,500. Okay, mover and seconder for that one, Rod and Smokey. Any comments on this one, Troy?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this will be the same chassis and frame as what we're that we purchased last year that we still haven't received. It'll be coming in 2027. It's a year newer chassis, but the international truck was still a little cheaper than the other two, not by much, but we do have a local dealer in Owen Sound, which does mean an awful lot, and we have had success with the international trucks in the past, so that's why we were recommending to go this route.
And you've outlined the various activities that the roll-up
very versatile piece
Very
of equipment.
versatile truck.
Yes.
Rod?
Just gonna say, I'm happy to see the last three quotes all came under budget. So those guys must be sharing secrets back there.
Okay.
Can you get the firemen in there too?
Yeah. Yeah, call in Jack. Yeah. All right. Just no further questions. Call the vote. All in favor? Opposed? The motion is carried. And these items basically all approved in our budget, so it's just going out for quotations. All right, the next one is the Public Works Manager Report, PW 26-12, request for proposal for engineering service for the Heron Point Bridge. And the council received report PW 26-12, request for proposal for engineering service for the Heron Point Bridge for information, and the council awards PW 26-12, request for proposal for engineering services for Heron Point Bridge to BM Ross Consultants for the amount of $60,000, excluding HST, in addition to any provisional items that may arise. Moved by Vaughn. Second by Todd. It didn't look like the other consultant, who was a GEI. They were really sold on repair.
Yes, we only received the two RFPs in, and yeah, the one consultant was really pushing towards replacement. And as we know, and as we discussed before, this is really just, it's a Band-Aid to prolong things until we can find, maybe more suitable options, or so BM Ross did fulfill the requirements of the RFP and believe that they can still meet the time frame within this year, providing everything goes well with the design and the tendering process for the job. But in consultation with them and our own staff, their proposal was kind of online with what we were thinking that could happen. So it was, staff felt good about that. The engineers felt that we could meet that and do a repair on the system to get us maybe hopefully 20 more years and increase the weight limit.
So is there a possibility during their observation or investigation that they may decide that it's not suitable, Troy, or for repair?
So that will be part of their initial investigation, and if that arises, then we'll have to reevaluate again.
Yeah, okay. All right, come on.
And just one question about the costing. They said 60,000, but did not include provisional items, which I guess would be 44,000. But GI did, I think, include the provisional items, and they said 146. So should we anticipate that the 60 will actually be 100,000 likely, or?
Yeah, certainly. That's a great question, Councillor Ramon. I believe the additional items that if we had to go through with all the other proposed studies, it would be approximately 104. So you were comparing 146 to 104. I think the additional costs of the second place candidate, if you took those studies away, it was removing about 55,000. So BM Ross was still the cheaper option. However, we believe that most of those studies will not have to be completed. So like the hydrology study and the geotech, because we're looking at this more as a repair than a replacement. So we're not actually changing the size, or it's just repairing what is there. So a hydrology study may not tell us, or it really wouldn't help just for the repair what the existing structure is. And that's our staff's interpretation, and that was BM Ross's interpretation also. However, as you go through the investigation, you never know what could come up. So that's why they did have it as provisional items, if that answers your question.
Further questions?
Sorry, just one small.
Yes, sorry.
And so how much is in the Heron Point Bridge capital budget, just out of curiosity?
I believe that there was approximately $1 million in the budget. However, 500,000 of that was, I believe, for the sale of the property at Heron Point, which maybe at this time we should be looking at holding on until we find out the full results of this.
Yeah.
So we'll see what we were pretty happy with what the costs of the RFP come in for this. Now we'll see when they go to the tender process, see what our tender price comes in at, and that will of course come back to council for approval. And then we can look at, hopefully maybe we can come in still under the 500,000 and still be within budget range.
All right. Further comments, questions? Call the vote. All in favor? Opposed? The motion is carried. Next, we go to item I on the agenda, the Drainage Committee, and it's the minutes for January 22nd. And all actions contained therein be approved as printed and circulated. Mover and seconder to that. Todd. Rod. Any comments, questions on the Drainage Committee? We can call a vote. All in favor? Opposed? The motion is carried. Chi-Cheemaun Festival Committee. And this is the February 24th minutes. And all actions contained therein be approved and as printed and circulated. Move by Smokey. I'm on. Yes, go ahead, Smokey.
I was just going to state, and thanks to Bob, he's keeps me from looking ill informed a little bit anyway. But I was just going to say that we have declined in here. We have declined that there will be any a market there or anything. The area is busy as it is with children's events and whatever. These minutes go back to February. They're not our latest minutes. So I just wanted to make that point.
All right. Further questions, comments? Call the vote. All in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried. Museum Committee, March 3rd meeting minutes and all actions contained therein be approved as printed and circulated. Rod? Todd? Any questions on that? Call the vote. All in favor? Motion is carried. Other business. Just a comment, we had our volunteer recognition event what day was that?
Thursday.
Last Thursday. And it turned out good. We got, at least I did, I got favorable comments this year regarding the process that we followed. We got one email maybe that was a little skeptical, but for the most part, I did receive like a number of comments that they liked the process much better than last year. So that was good. So we heard last year that there was a bit of issue, and so we changed. And this year was better. The other thing too, while I was there, I got an email and I did forward it to everybody. Did you get that forward? It was from the farmers market, Charlene Jordan. Apparently, I had forgotten, but her community grant was not approved. It was $500, and her community grant was not approved this year. So I told her I'd relay that to council. She was very disappointed. She thought that the farmers market is a very important event in the municipality, which I agree, it is. It's very busy too. So she was hoping that the council would reconsider that $500 donation to the farmers market. Yes.
Would we also then do the other farmers markets? Because
they're both good.
well, they are, and it's just that okay, where does the money? To me, a lot of the when we were talking about grants and whatever to groups in the community, it was kind of to help them out that these funds were needed. And I had trouble remembering, but we did not approve any of the farmers markets because we felt that the people using these, it was like a business. It was not, I had to really sit and think about the discussion, or if we had it, when we had a discussion about it, but the decision was made on the basis that these, like, and I have nothing against markets. I'm all for them. I'm part of one. Shouldn't probably be talking to it. But the discussion that I recall was that the people go to that. It is more like a business. It is good for the community and whatnot. So if we're going to make that decision, okay, do these people need the money to provide this? And if we do one farmer's market, then I think we are almost obligated to do others. And I think the reason we didn't support the markets was that the people were, it was sort of like a business situation. And we don't, the rules say we don't support anything that's like a business situation. So that was just my memory. I have no problem with the $500. And if we do that, maybe we should think about the other markets. But I know as far as the northern one, the one that I'm a member of, like we pay to go there. And then the chamber, in our case, they keep a spreadsheet that shows what we, and it had a profit, on a slight profit last year. Coming out of that. So that's just my comments on it. I am no way wanted to say anything negative about the Lion's Head Farmers Market. I think it's a great venue and it's good for the community, but the other markets are too. And maybe we just need to think a little bit of, there's a lot of great things going on in this community. But that's just, I'm okay one way or another on it, but I do recall that was our train of thought a little bit at the time.
It was. And so that's what I asked. I said, don't you charge a fee for the market? She said, yes, we do, but we keep it low to try and encourage vendors to show up. Most of them, she tells me, do not make a whole lot of money. No, so that you can't, it's more of a community event than it is really maybe there's the odd one that does make a lot, but we did contribute to the e-bike thing in Tobermory, which is a business.
That's true.
And it was around $2,000, I think. So this market here is well established and it gets good attendance. So I'm okay either way with the two. If I support one, I'll support both.
Well, actually, there's three.
Is there?
Well, because you have the market that's run by the Chamber of Commerce, which was the original.
Oh.
And then the All Seasons Market is, and also she runs out of, either the municipality's Ball Diamond area, and has had a few inside at the hall. And then it's basically the same type of idea. And then, of course, the Lion's Head one. The Lion's Head one and the Chamber one is more of a make it or grow it situation. The other one, I'm not sure exactly the rules. I should know because I go sometimes, but it's slightly different. But it's on a Saturday in Tobermory.
Yeah. Council Swish, whatever you decide. Right?
I think we're talking more than farmers markets. So here we must have turned down a few people for $500, right? Yeah, so we're sort of opening the floodgates to have everybody say, hey, how come they're getting it at the last minute, or three people are, like.
Yeah. Yep.
The time to make the argument is at the time we're looking at it, I guess, is my point, yeah.
Any comments?
I agree with Rod as well. Like, yeah, it's, great event, but, our time we make the decisions is in the fall. If we start making decisions throughout the year, then everyone is very applied throughout the year. If we want that to be the case, then that's fine, but, we should be consistent one way or the other.
Yep. Yep. So unless I see a motion to approve, I will move on. Okay, so we'll go to correspondence, and so we have four of them. AMO delegation meeting requests open for AMO conference. So this is one we should think about and come up with some requests anyway for delegation.
Well, that's street lights or a stop light.
Yep.
Yeah.
There's a little poke with a stick.
I'll even give you the stick.
Yeah, so what about the water line out to Ferndale? Is that they get a water line out there? Is that I know that the subdivision being proposed there is having difficulty finding potable water in Ferndale.
That's actually a good idea, because nothing will happen first year, but we've set the precedent for the next council 4 years. Yeah. And if we can get a line out there, maybe we can get some interest in hooking up. Yes.
This may have no impact because it's already in process in other avenues, but the water system in Tobermory, how many years have we been working on that? And no one seems to care.
No. I'm not sure what the there was one. What was the one come out? Recreation. Just recently. There's a recreation one come out just recently. And I'm not sure what pots of money are available in the infrastructure one. I'm not sure what, if there's a bigger pot of money, I guess we can still go after, try water in Tobermory again.
And we need to make some inroads, because I'm sorry, but our current provincial governments seems to be concentrating on the GTA, and they're also saying, tourism, we need U.S. tourism, we need this and that and the other thing, and we deal with a lot of people from the GTA, and we probably will see more this summer, which is even more reason why our provincial government should be taking a look at some of the tourism aspects and the tourism areas where people can travel locally from the border cities, and from where a lot of our tourism already comes from, the whole area of the GTA, and right from Sarnia over to Ottawa. On top of that, we have figures that show that. So I just think the province of Ontario needs not think that the economy ends at Toronto.
Any ideas on what we should try to get a delegation for? Just because we asked for one doesn't mean we'll get one, but so the more we have, we might get one, two.
One that's popular, jets.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, you could have showed,
Yeah,
I could have flown up here.
okay. But Todd,
Do we need to talk to anybody at the province about Cabot Head Road?
the province, is that the, or is it the feds?
It's a little bit
Yeah,
everybody.
we have a few owners that are provincial that we could request meetings with to discuss the project itself.
Do you have any, we don't have.
I would even go with,
Yeah. Do you have any comments with regards to,
depending on what you're saying.
have we tried to get comments from M&R or anybody? Or DFO or?
So any of the upper government agencies have requested that council conclude the review, make a decision on the ultimate option, and then present to those groups.
Okay. So do we need to conclude or finish that up? That or we should be done by then.
We will definitely be done by then. We do have the clerks on call coming to the next council meeting as a delegation to present their findings. So hopefully at that point, council can make decisions on what direction you'd like to go.
All right, if there's no further suggestions, Peggy, do you have any suggestions?
No, I think this really does fall within a lot of the items that were within our strategic plan when you were first elected.
Would item B on the agenda, Cabot Head Road virtual open house. And next on the.
Well, I would like to make a comment on that.
Yeah.
That letter, and it's well intentioned, I'm sure, suggests that it be part of the Bruce Trail or the whatever. As a self-appointed spokesperson for the old and slightly infirm, and for people with that have issues with accessibility, and also long ago from a family of young kids that was their Sunday night drive. So I think I just want to say that as well as it may be well enough that it's a fine idea for the Bruce Trail, but we have a multitude of areas that are accessible to people, to children, to young children, to older folks, that we need to keep an open mind on an area that is in some ways, even though it needs to be policed, for lack of a better word, in some regard, is open to people of all, could be open to people of all ages and abilities, and is not only environmental, but historical. So that's my little comment on the suggestion given to us on the Cabot Head Road.
And we'll get to lots of debate on that one. So,
I suppose, just remember, I'm always right.
yeah. See, we'll think about that one. Yeah.
Okay. Lots of places to go if you can.
PP Becker's Gravers Own Sound. And invest in primary care, and the Ministry of Environment, Conservation and Parks proposed Environmental Assessment Act amendments to improve the comprehensive environmental assessment process. I've heard this for years. All right. Well, there was always a concern about the length of time it takes to go through the environmental assessment process, and there. If you're at any of the conventions, a lot of the conventions, it was a topic. And so some of these suggestions might help. Alex, what do you want here? Direction to staff for in the A or just information? A to D, information. We were in a secondary. Amon and Ron. All in favor? Opposed, the motion is carried. Closed session, nil. And bylaws, and bylaw 2026-34 is a bylaw to establish amps, Rod. Non-parking for the municipality of Northern Bruce Peninsula. Bylaw 2026-35 is a bylaw to adopt a consolidated administrative monetary penalty system policies. There you go. For the municipality of Northern Bruce Peninsula. And bylaw 2026-36 is a bylaw to appoint Rutherford Prosecutions as a hearing and screening officer under the administrative monetary penalty system bylaw for the municipality of Northern Bruce Peninsula. And bylaw 2026-37 is a bylaw to amend existing bylaws for the purpose of using administrative monetary penalty system for the municipality of Northern Bruce Peninsula. And bylaw 2026-38 is a bylaw to appoint municipal law enforcement officers and property standards officers for the municipality of Northern Bruce Peninsula. And bylaw 2026-39 is a bylaw to appoint municipal law enforcement officers from municipal support services for the municipality of Northern Bruce Peninsula. And bylaw 2026-40 is a bylaw to authorize a lease agreement between the Bruce Peninsula Society of Artists and the municipality of Northern Bruce Peninsula. And 2026-41 is a confirmatory bylaw. Mover and seconder for bylaws, Todd and Amon. Somebody's phone. Yes. Okay. So we have a mover and seconder. Call the vote. If there's no questions, call the vote. All in favor? Opposed, the motion's carried. Motion to adjourn. Rod and Smokey. All in favor? Motion carried. Thank you, everyone. Meeting is adjourned.